Hey everybody, welcome to day 38 of Bible 365. It is February 7th, and we are looking in Ruth chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, just looking at the very first verses of that chapter as we finally get introduced to a guy named Boaz, who is one of the main characters of the story. He actually is a relative of Naomi's, and that puts him in a very interesting position to be able to influence this story in a very positive way. So let's take a look at the text.
Ruth chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain, after him in whose sight I shall find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out, and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech.
Back in those days, there's a title for a relative like this, and he would have been called a kinsman redeemer. And it was his responsibility that if something were to happen to his relative, leaving his wife and children in need, that the kinsman redeemer was not obligated to, but had a right to step in and claim what belonged to his family. So he would have stepped in and said, "Well, I'm going to take this, who was my relative's wife, and she's going to become my wife. I'm going to take this family, and they're going to become my family. I'm going to take his possessions, and they're going to become my possessions, his land, his houses, and whatnot." And so we don't get the full picture here of that, but we get this nice hint of what's about to happen. Just hearing of his name being mentioned here in the story. So the narrator kind of steps in and says, "Oh, hey, and by the way, there's this guy named Boaz, and he was a relative of Naomi's." And then we see Ruth, who's coming to Naomi, saying, I need to pull my weight. I've got to go out, and I've got to try to get some food for us. Maybe if I go into one of the fields, I can glean some meal, and they'll let me take it home." So she kind of begs to go out and work in the fields, and Naomi says, "Well, go right ahead." And I love the flippant kind of attitude towards what happens here, where it says, "So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz." I mean, there's fields all over Bethlehem, this whole area. Well, she happened to come to the one part of the field that belonged to her now relative, Boaz. Well, it just so happened that this happened. No, this was God. This was providence. This was God taking care of his people, especially those who are in times of hardship and are looking to him in faith. So we see this great beginning of the story here. I'm not going to keep going further. We're just going to mention there, I wanted to tell you guys about what this kinsman redeemer really is, because I'll say it probably a bunch more times as we're going through the rest of the book, because we see in it a picture of Jesus. We ourselves are dead. We have no rights of our own. We're very much like Naomi and Ruth here in this situation, and we need a kinsman redeemer to step in and save us. And Jesus became our kinsman. He became flesh so that he could redeem us. And so we see in the book of Ruth, Boaz plays the Jesus role, which is why I've always liked that name, Boaz. I'd love to have another kid and name him Boaz. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you'll continue to follow along. Read the book of Ruth. You can read it in one sitting. It's a great story, really uplifting, and a redemption story for the ages. You can follow me on Twitter at Engaging Culture. You can follow along on the website, engagingculture.wordpress.com, or right here on YouTube. You can subscribe below and continue to get daily updates. Thanks, you guys. God bless.